because in the official reports they want to under tell everybody how many got wounded, killed, and captured.
Oh yeah.
Of course, the Confederates think they wiped out a brigade, 3 regiments, which is actually only 1. But at the end, some people have done some pretty good work. Crick went into the regimental histories, gone into hospital records. 40 to 50% seems to be pretty accurate.
And by the way, Union Church, they were having a church service there for the soldiers when it started, and it didn't take long to, to get them out of the church, especially when the artillery shells started coming over. But it's interesting, it only took a couple of hours to change that into a hospital.
Yeah.
Right.
And within 2 days, with still having soldiers being treated and getting them taken out of here and heading north, it's interesting, that church was totally trashed. It burned in the early 1900s, and then it was replaced with a wooden structure. But see, what's interesting is, I've been in there once. From the outside, those stained glass windows don't look very special, but from the inside, those are the original, stained glass windows from that original church. And they really are quite impressive. And the foundation is purchasing that property. I've already made my donation.
2 acres right around the chapel or the church, and that kind of solidifies the holdings around that part of the battlefield.
Because the land in front of it has all been preserved now too.
So it's not an active church now.
Right.
No, hasn't been for a number of years.
And I was telling them about the other New York regiments that were out there that didn't make it this far, and the nationalities, Chinese, people from India, from France, from North Africa, just about all the Balkan countries you can think of.
I think polyglot covers it.
Chinese surprising.
Chinese, Did we mention that some of the Maryland boys were buried over there at the cemetery from 1906?
I didn't actually. Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, he brought up a good point. If you go back to the church, by the way, and you look across the street, there are 2 stones, and actually there are several Confederate soldiers that are buried there. Several years ago, there are 2 stones that sit there, both of them for 1st Maryland Southern. I had a gentleman from Delaware I was touring, and he said that his great-great-grandfather had been killed on June 6th at the Battle of Harrisonburg. And he said, we don't know where he is, but he's probably buried somewhere down here. So I'm talking to the other people in the group, and he goes across the street and he says, and he's got tears in his eyes, and he says, that is my great-great-grandfather.
Oh, wow.
And so he found his great-great-grandfather 160 years later.
Yeah. It's kind of wild to imagine. 160 years later,
Yes,
too.
and the stone is
Yeah,
a nice stone.
It's a nice stone.
Yeah, that's amazing because most of those stones really deteriorated. They were what, sandstone or some other softer rock?
Yeah,
These the 2 that are there have been upgraded. But
Okay.
They look fairly new.
They're government markers now, right?
Yeah, they're government markers. So,
Oh.
but they're both boys that came from from Maryland, in the 1st Maryland. Of course, you saw their monument back there as well. So we're going to go, God willing, to our next stop.
I'll let you lead, Pete. Bad idea, I know.
It's tied over.
No
What I'm going to do is we're going to go take a right out of here, and we're going to go up almost to the light.
Whichever.
Yeah.
And there's a road that cuts back sharply to your right. We're going to make a right there on the Mill Road. And we're going to go down to another place. And that other place is the farthest advance that the Confederates made going in that direction. And like I was saying before, if you measure the distance from the right of the Confederate line to, let's say, the left of the Confederate line up here, there's a gap of about 1.25 miles. So all of these guys up here are totally isolated from the rest of, Dick Ewell's army. So it's a tough place to park.
Can we get this
To say the
post out?
least.
Are we going over, is this Widow Pens?
No,
No.
we're going to go up here.
Okay.
There is a turnout now, very much like this, but smaller. What I'm going to do is I'll lead you there. I'm going to go a little bit farther than the turnout, and the first 2 or 3 cars behind me kind of pull off the road beside me, in back of me. And the rest of you folks that can fit into the parking lot go in. If there's any folks that can't make it into that, then just park behind the turnout behind it, okay? I'm still going to be tuned to 93.5. I'm your DJ today, and hopefully you'll be able to hear me. But what is it, maybe a mile and a half? It's the next right-hand turn that you can make. Okay?